Hi there, this is GMcCleary. Hopefully this will be the first of many uploads I'm going to put in to create an insight into the Mass Effect series with the characters, with certain situations, events, so on and so forth. I first want to think about the elusive man. I usually call him Tim or Timmy. Anyway, it says here, I remember this one quote. It says, "Salvation comes with a cost. Judge us not by our methods, but those what we seek to accomplish." Granted, it is a nice sentiment, if a bit more ethically ambiguous. I always like this saying, "Without honor, victory is hollow." I always like that saying a lot better. But with Tim, he does create a lot of hatred and resentment for the rest of the galaxy, for the human's point of view. Ever since at the beginning of, what was that, I'm trying to remember this one comic for the Tim's reference point. I'm trying to remember what it was. Anyway, he was basically at the start of the beginning. His name is Jack Harper, by the way, which is a bit ironic considering one of his famous inmates is also known as Jack. Anyway, Jack Harper is a mercenary that was hired by General Williams, and he hires us. He and the squad capture what looks to be like a Reaper indoctrination device, or try to anyway. And then the Turians, under the command of General Octavius, that is Saren's older brother. Anyway, I don't want to get into details like, one possession to another, or like the Turians had it, then they tried to supplement it, control it, and then it ends up with Tim killing Saren's brother, in which case that started Saren on his path to hatred and retribution for humanity, so much so it caused him to be indoctrinated by the very species that he hoped to use as his means of retribution. In which case, Tim's actions in that comic book reference alone, I think it was Evolution, I think it was that comic book. But anyway, and that one action alone caused a ripple effect throughout the entire galaxy. And sadly, he hasn't changed much. With Tim in Mass Effect 1, there was no reference to him whatsoever, but his experiments were astray, in which case he used stolen creepers, he used husks, he used and he also used Arachni, and he was behind the attack on Akuz in 2177, in which case he's the type of guy that sees every person in the galaxy, human or alien, as tools. And all tools, regardless of their quality, their ability, their durability, their adaptability, they are, bottom line, expendable. Even someone as significant as Miranda Lawson, he tries to control and manipulate everybody. I mean, with Miranda Lawson, all he had to do was guarantee the safety of his sister and, well, I suppose herself in some weird way, and therefore she was devoted to Cerberus's goals for nearly 20 years. And all Shepard could do is simply rescue Miranda's sister and get them reacquainted or get a reunion. And you didn't ask anything in return. I mean, your character anyway. My character, basically I, helped her sister out. I didn't make her kill Niket because I know she could have done it, but she would have felt a lot worse about it. I mean, and that's the way things are. And then the sister came around, and everything was happy. She was happy. She made her sister feel safe, and she can communicate with her sister. And your character Shepard didn't ask for anything in return. I mean, granted, it could have been the start of some romantic thing, but I didn't want to do that. In which case she gets her undying loyalty, because she didn't ask. Because the character knows you're not asking anything out of her, but Cerberus is asking everything out of her. And at that point, Miranda says at the end, if you bring her to the last mission to go against the Daedalus Reaper, she would be like, no, this is my resignation. She gave up everything for your character. She could give up everything for your character, and she probably does. In which case, she gives up her status in the service organization. She's probably one of the most trusted individuals there. And she was also risking her not only her life and the life of the crew of Normandy, but risking her little sister along with it. Obviously, she didn't believe the justifications, the actions on the Cerberus vessel were lauded. But anyway, in the Mass Effect 2, there were some side missions in the Cerberus that Tim may or may not have, like whether it was Cerberus Command or Tim, I don't know. Though I suppose it really doesn't really matter since he's such a micromanager, control freak anyway. In which case, he wanted propane technology, though, the Project Firewalker. In which case, you can retrieve a tank, a flying tank, and you get to retrieve propane technology that, in which case it would have been in their control. In which case, you managed to get a propane beacon out of it. Oh, it wasn't a propane beacon, it was a propane orb. Kind of like similar to the first one. It downloads a bunch of information. It's basically a propane computer, and there's no way to access it, apparently, without a key. The first one there was one, but the only way to activate it was to have a key that was given to you by Shiala, and you had to help her out a few things. But before I get off track again, in Mass Effect 2, basically he does everything he can to ensure that not only Shepard lives but stays alive, or doesn't stay dead, whatever you want to call it. While with Tim, he tries to circumvent it, control everything, and Shepard along with it. In which case, whether or not your character's a Paragon, Renegade, what have you, or a little in between, you can't really trust Tim. I mean, Tim is gonna screw you over or gonna lie about certain things and not tell you about certain things. So chances are you probably don't want to work with a guy like that. I mean, suppose with he does have an ulterior motive. He doesn't want everybody. He doesn't want anyone in his organization, whether it's Shepard working with him or not. He doesn't want anyone to know something about everything, so to speak. And with Tim in Mass Effect 3, the organization's clearly indoctrinated. How it got there, chances are, was probably an after effect of the novel Retribution, in which case that Reaper technology must have gotten Tim indoctrinated in some way. The indoctrination's subtle. By the time you notice the effects of indoctrination, it's usually too late. Tim in Mass Effect 3, whether or not he probably is going to be a contributing factor, Bioware says itself. The real question is what? Is he going to be? Did the Reapers basically promise to save humanity yet fuck everyone else up? I don't know. Or in which case that promise is obviously being broken since they invaded Earth. Tim, as noble as he is, he wouldn't sacrifice Earth. The problem with Tim is you don't know what his motivations are going to become in Mass Effect 3. Is he going to be that pompous jerk, or like we've seen in Mass 2, or is he going to be like Saren, a broken man who lost whatever honor that man possessed? Well, I gave an information, movie info about, gave a vid about a gamer named Gamer MD83. That's her name. It's her gamer tag for YouTube. You should check her out. You should probably check her site out. In which case, I gave her a suggestion on indoctrination cure. That might work. I don't know. Depends. Basically, I basically uploaded a message earlier, a couple of minutes ago, actually, that Reaper indoctrination can be cured by the people of Pharos, mainly Shiala. I suppose I don't know whether or not it could work since the Thorian spores took the effects out of indoctrination. Whether or not those spores could be beneficial to everybody is unclear, and the fact that BioWare hasn't talked about the relevance of barrels at little at all. So I don't know what the effects would that be. And whether or not Tim is going to be a supporter, he's going to be in the background mostly. The real question is, chances are he's probably going to throw a bunch of minions at you constantly. In which case, by the end of it all, he's going to show up and we'll finally figure out what he's really up to and was he willing to do the things he did on Mass Effect 3. And when did the indoctrination start or can it end? Alright, I'm going to try characters from the original Mass Effect 1 squad since most of them are coming back. I'll start with them next. This is GMcCleary saying bye there.